My name's Jim Chambers. A quick introduction to me. Who am I? I'm a father of four, approaching my emerald anniversary, would you believe? My wife's a very patient lady. We have, at last count, 4 grandchildren. So very much family man. Very proud of my very working class roots. My father is probably the one person I look up to. Well, he's long since departed, most in my life. I'm also a businessman, known success, I've known failure. I've met lots of interesting people who provide a lot of good, rich character material for my writing. And latterly, I'm more passionate about writing, walking, and Derby County Football Club, but less said about the latter, the better at the moment. So that's me. I live in Derbyshire in the Peak District. As to my book, Urban Scarecrows, recently published. It's really a political thriller. I like to think there are 2 dimensions. One is a political thriller, and it reimagines the 2019 general election, and it sees a very extreme socialist agenda prevail. And that then subsequently lurches towards a Marxist government and a totalitarian state. So it has a very strong political context. But on the other level, it's very much about human emotions. So it's about love and hate, about lust, about betrayal, renewal. It's deep emotional journey that the protagonist and his family follow. So I hope at one level it's a human story that is a page turner. At another, it has some political questions that it might enrage some people. It might interest others. It might pose a few questions. I mean, I think it's been cooking for quite a long time as I tread the gritstones of Derbyshire's Peak District. And if there is something behind it, I think it's that I like to row against the tide a little bit as a character. I don't necessarily like to do what is expected of me. And I just feel in this country that we've lurched too much to almost a left-wing socialist view of the world. And it's become very much a view that is endemic in the media and in the establishment. So socialism equals good, and that often is the case in terms of intent. Very often is not the case in terms of outcome. And don't get me wrong, I'm not at all right-wing. I'm very much centre ground, veering slightly centre-right. So that's some of the thoughts behind it. And I just wanted to write a good story that was set in a slightly political context. Well, that'd be a bit of a spoiler alert. Let's just say that, I mean, throughout history, there have been any number of horrendous acts that have been devised in order to inflict upon fellow human beings, to cow the population and to bend them towards a particular way. So I think I'll leave it at that and let you see. Wants to ask the question, what would happen if it was an extreme socialist government? What, at worst, could happen in the UK? And that requires a decade, really, in order for that to percolate through. And that was the thinking. I like Rosa because Rosa is main protagonist Dominic Green's wife, and she's a very vibrant, exuberant Spanish lady and she's very voluble, quite tempestuous, impossible at one level and endearing at another. And I know a few Spanish people from my life, so yeah, it was. I like Rosa. She's very inconsistent and very provocative in many ways, but she's a character. I think in general, you write about, something that hopefully you either have an interest in, a passion in, or some knowledge of. Hopefully, both those things. So I tend to veer towards business, and with a sprinkling of politics. But I stress, there is a danger that I'm, going to overemphasize the political aspect. If you're not into politics, it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy Urban Scarecrows. It was described to me by somebody who read it recently that it was a page turner, and the events sort of just kept them glued to the page, which was nice to hear, of course. I'm very open and very transparent. I'm a centre right. I'm a Conservative Party member, a very disenchanted one at the moment, I might add. And I've made my views very well known to the local MP, who was excellent, actually. Yeah, that would summarise centre, slightly right of centre, but strongly libertarian. In business, I've met so many people, so many wonderful people who are just inspirational. The dedication, the motivation, helping those less fortunate themselves. I've met them in the context of helping unemployed into work, in training young people, training adults who for whom the education system was a failure. And so we've met lots of people, and their dedication and passion is moving, actually. And these are often people who are not that well paid. But I've also met scoundrels, and I've met finance people and banking people, and I've met arrogant ministers of the state. So a whole rich pageant, and lots of character traits that I can mine and then stitch together to help form some of the characters in my fictional world. I think, looking at the present day, I think I'd like Nick Robinson to read it. It would terrify me. I mean, he's, I think, one of the most bullish, opinionated, biased media reporters, but I love his agile mind and his intellect, and if I'm sure he would provoke a heated discussion, and I would enjoy that. But that feels like slightly brave. And I have to go for Winston Churchill and Margaret Thatcher. Why them? Well, Winston Churchill is sort of, the heroic British character throughout history, isn't he? And Margaret Thatcher, whatever you think of her, she turned around this country, although some would say in a cruel way. But nonetheless, the good that she did was far outweighed some of the things that people might criticise her for. The last time we had a really strong leader in this country. So they're the people I'd like to read it. Yeah, I shall have to cogitate on that one. I haven't done so as yet. You've set me thinking. I better get my hiking boots on and tread those gritstone edges tonight and think about that one. I hope some readers will take away some questions. My wife read it. But of course, our marriage depended upon her doing so. And she's obviously often my worst, my biggest critic. And she debated with me quite long and hard whether some of the things that could possibly happen in the world today. And then we reflected upon what's happening in Ukraine, upon the shooting of innocent children in schools in America. And, you look around the world and, there's nothing in my book that hasn't happened in history and indeed often in this country. So that's one of the sort of slightly chilling sort of realizations we came to. And at another level, I hope it's just a good read. It's just an entertaining read when you're on the beach or in wanting to just escape, the cost of living crisis or whatever else it might be that is uppermost in your mind at the moment.